Hello everybody, it's GirlGotGame and welcome back to Gilded Shadows. As you can see, Jack has decided to take over CAISSA's route once more. But hey, we got blue-haired Jack back, so that's fine. Anyway, we are here to do CAISSA's sweet ending today. This might end up being multiple parts, I'm not sure. I've done all the same choices up to this point in CAISSA's route. So, as you can see, she's made it to the mansion. Jack's checking in on her for the first time. Last time on his passionate ending, I did the emotional choice of how do you think I'm doing? But this time we're going to go confident. And speaking of emotional traits, I have the exact same traits that I did for the passionate ending as well. So that's the same. But anyway, confident. What's really going on here, Jack? As much as I had the most powerful urge to fly across the room and slap that grin off his face, I stayed by the door and tried to keep my face expressionless and tone even. Though I didn't succeed. What's really going on here, Jack? You lied to me? None of this is what you told me. Where are all these supposed F-class refugees? You have nothing to do with the court at all, do you? I let out a dry, bitter laugh. Guess it's hard to get people to go with you when you tell them you work for some creepy, corrupt family.
Sorry, Butterfly. What's done is done.
That stupid nickname set my teeth on edge. I don't want to hear you call me that again.
Alright. Anything else?
Yes. The Fianchettos? Why are they even involved in this? I know corruption in Delphine is bad, but this is extreme.
Look, first, it might be a bit pedantic to point this out, but I didn't lie.
Okay, are we back to your normal excuses? Good. Alright, we caught up to the excuses. She really went after him that time. Okay, last time we were confident and went and met the trainer first. Now we're going to be cautious and delay it. I think I'd rather take a look around first. In the end, I wasn't sure I could handle meeting someone new so early in the morning. And I also wanted to learn the layout of this place a bit. I may need to stay put for now, but if the situation worsened, I at least wanted to know how to get out. Very well. If you're ready, we'll get started right away. Lead the way. I half expected the other guard to follow us when we left, but he stayed by the door to my room instead. I wasn't sure if I should be grateful or concerned that they would be guarding my room when I wasn't even in it. What were they afraid would happen? I guess that makes sense. What were they afraid would happen while I wasn't there? Someone would lie in wait and stab me in my sleep? Because that was a terrifying thought. This place was so strange. Carrie and I walked in silence for a few moments. Guarded rooms, having a chaperone everywhere. Was this going to continue indefinitely, or was it just because I was new? More of the latter, I hoped, though I wasn't sure I was looking forward to the days they expected me to navigate everything alone. But surely it would get to that point? Perhaps faster, if I at least gave the impression of being meek and obedient. This place, for all that it was beautiful, had an oppressive atmosphere. It was silent, empty, and yet there were definite prickles of being observed clinging to the back of my neck at all times. Perhaps it was just paranoia, but who could say at this point? Where exactly are we? I mean, geographically. I only somewhat remember the drive here. I wasn't quite conscious. Beyond that we're in Delphine, I don't know much about where I am. This is a wealthy district outside of Pythia. Pythia. The capital of Delphine, then. Is this distinction of wealth significant? Carrie gave me a sidelong look. It means there aren't power outages or supply shortages like you might find in the slums or less well-off areas. I suppose that makes sense. I've heard there are issues like that here. I knew the Fianchettos were wealthy, which made even more sense given they owned a massive criminal organization. But they were also supposed to be philanthropists, or the family head was anyway. I didn't know much about the heir. I'd heard the name CAISSA Fianchetto, though not frequently enough to immediately realize who I was dealing with. I guess the whole philanthropist thing is only for appearances.
There aren't many places in the mansion you'll be allowed to visit for a while. All of them are in this wing. The rest of the grounds and buildings are off limits, and you won't be allowed anywhere alone for the time being.
So I can't escape? She made a face at that.
For your protection.
And so I can't escape? She sighed softly and stopped to look at me.
Is your escape something we need to worry about, Miss Leone?
Will I be horrifically murdered if I try to leave? Or if I trespass in some area I'm not allowed? Silence. When she spoke again, it was with carefully chosen words.
My boss does not wish you to be a prisoner here, Miss Leone. However, Mr. Fianchetto has made it clear that he expects you not to leave the manor, which means doing so would be massively unwise. For you, and for the rest of us. Here, everyone within a given circle is connected, so your actions would inevitably backlash on others as well.
I never imagined the Fianchettos to be such a bloodthirsty family. Not with all the reports of how charitable they are. Something rare amid the stories of corruption out of Delphine. I guess you really can't trust much of what you hear these days.
There are obvious reasons to keep up fronts. And I think it would be best to forget most of what you've lived and experienced so far. Very little of that will prepare you for being a part of this family.
You can't just forget lived experience like that. Carrie said nothing in response to that. I assumed it didn't seem like a point worth arguing. The first place she took me was a lush greenhouse. Not something I expected to see here. For a few moments, as I stared up at the glass and framework overhead, I forgot where I was. It was beautiful.
Mr. CAISSA cares for this place personally.
Really? I wouldn't have taken him for a gardener.
It belonged to the late Mr. Deimos, CAISSA's older brother. It's been in Mr. CAISSA's care since...
She trailed off. Since he passed away, I assumed. Deimos Fianchetto. The name was somewhat familiar. I felt like I'd heard something about a major death in the family, but it was years ago. I didn't remember much about it. I'd been younger at the time and distracted with other things. News out of Delphine wasn't always pertinent to New Albion. What happened to him? Deimos. Carrie seemed to weigh whether to answer and finally spoke with some amount of hesitance.
If you have any particular questions about his immediate family, I would recommend speaking to Mr. CAISSA about it personally.
I suspect it's not something he wishes to talk to me about.
Perhaps. But I think you may find yourself surprised by him.
I didn't know what that was supposed to mean.
I thought I heard voices.
Oh, you came to meet us in here. Okay, nice.
Veli, I didn't expect to find you here.
Same. I expected to meet you later today.
The man approaching on the footpath looked me up and down. I was getting really tired of people looking at me that way.
So this is her, then?
Miss Leone, this is Veli Rall, Crimson's only queen-ranked Esper. He'll be the one overseeing your training going forward.
This was the queen rank? The one CAISSA had said was an infantry who'd been promoted? With the memory of those words came a strange sense of guilt. I looked away, feeling absolutely no desire to replace this man as Crimson's premier queen-ranked Esper. The very thought of it made me queasy.
I won't say it's nice to meet you, because it isn't. However, CAISSA's asked me to teach you to control your abilities, so I intend to.
I looked away, not quite keeping the frown off my face. Not that I was expecting a pleasant introduction, but I wasn't expecting overt rudeness either. I'll have to lower my expectations. If these people wanted my cooperation, they had a bizarre way of showing it.
How are you feeling? I heard your psi fatigue was significant. Something about some sort of incredible psi burst. Jack wouldn't shut the hell up about it.
There was a fight, and I panicked when someone came after me. I barely remember this incredible psi burst.
Well, regardless, we can't have that happen again. Especially not here. You'll start with some mental exercises and meditation to help you get that under control. You must be able to focus and stay calm before we can make progress.
I've had 3 nano expansions to help with mental focus. I'm pretty good at it already.
Well, isn't that impressive? But learning Psi isn't as easy as learning maths, Miss Leone.
You've clearly never taken advanced calculus. A short snort of laughter came from behind me. Carrie. But Veli didn't look amused.
Most kids in Delphine are lucky if they finish their 5th year. So no, I've never taken advanced calculus, and I don't have an expanded nanosystem. I've also never almost killed myself, or anyone else, with an uncontrolled psi burst I released out of panic.
That's fair, I suppose. But I was in a stressful situation, a fight I wasn't prepared for. And, in my defense, someone was trying to kill me.
Everything you just said is almost definitely going to happen again. You have to learn to cope with it while controlling your psi.
Hearing that didn't make me happy. I didn't come here so I could be put in that sort of situation again. Or at least I hadn't meant to come here for that reason. Even so, he had a point. I needed to learn to control this, to protect myself above all else.
There will be a hell of a lot of challenges ahead of you, from different factions within the family to outside sources. Not only does CAISSA want you capable of defending yourself, but I intend to make sure everyone knows bringing you here was the right call. I refuse to let your incompetence reflect badly on CAISSA.
I'm not incompetent. I'm new.
All the more reason to fix it, because many people will see it as the same thing, I assure you.
He swept past both of us with barely a glance back.
You'll be hearing from me. And Carrie, don't forget your part in this.
That had been abrupt, and not entirely pleasant, though it could have been worse, I'd imagine. I turned to Carrie. Your part?
Mr. CAISSA has asked me to oversee teaching you some physical self-defense. Psi is not always practical, and it's best to be able to handle yourself physically as well.
Why you instead of Veli? Are you able to beat him up despite his rank? Because I'd kind of like to see that. Carrie gave me a rare smile.
I've never tried, but I believe it's more to do with the fact that Mr. CAISSA believed you might be more comfortable with me.
Ah, not that anyone has given any significant thought to my comfort otherwise. Anyway, I do know some basics already.
That's surprising. Is there a specific reason for that?
It's not surprising. New Albion isn't a safe utopia where bad things never happen. If it was like that, I wouldn't be here in the first place. My brother is in the safety department. He was protective, so he taught me a few things. For all the good it did me. I laughed at the sudden absurdity of it all. As I tried to sort through the jumble of disbelief, the irony suddenly stood out. I imagine he'd have a heart attack if he found out his baby sister had just joined one of the most notorious criminal families on the planet.
I'm sure your brother would be happy to know you're safe, whatever else might be true.
I'm sure he would be. I'm sure my entire family would be happy to have that information. They're probably all terrified for me right now. She shifted uncomfortably, then changed the topic.
For the time being, there are a few other places I'd like you to see. We somehow managed to get your meeting with Veli out of the way already, so we can focus on finishing your tour for now.
She had said that, but there wasn't much else to see. Okay, are we back? No, not yet. Besides the greenhouse, Carrie showed me a dining room. I saw the gardens outside. through a window. Carrie showed me where CAISSA's suite was and pointed down a hallway to say it led to Karis's wing and office. She stressed I was never to go there. I don't know why, since she made it clear I would have a chaperone for the foreseeable future. And that was all. She wasn't kidding when she said I wouldn't have much access for now. The tour was short-lived, and I didn't see enough of the mansion to get a feel for, well, anything. Other than the fact that it seemed to be massive. Okay, and now? Now we're back. There we go. And again, I say, you've never taken advanced calculus.
That joke will eventually run out of steam.
I'll stop saying it when you stop laughing at it. Okay, maths trauma. Nope, wait a minute.
I can have someone come by so you can discuss your maths trauma if you need to. And you'll never get away from me with that kind of weak attempt.
Eh? There we go. I was one line too soon. Jack, am I happy to see you? Yes, I'm happy to see you. Shock of shocks. That's fine. Alright. What am I doing this time? Ooh, I'm leaving. I'm not waiting. Okay, I thought this was going to lead to a bad ending, but apparently we're still on the way to a sweet end, so we don't die here. That's good to know. On edge, unsure what was happening, I paced around the room twice, and half a dozen paranoid scenarios were flying through my head. Why would Carrie just leave unless something was wrong? Why would Veli risk leaving me alone when they weren't supposed to? It had to mean something serious was happening, right? When Jack still hadn't shown up after what seemed like a long time, I took a chance to peek outside. There was no one around. My room wasn't far. If I ran, I could be there in under a minute. I waited, hoping to see Jack come around the corner. It hadn't really been that long. I knew that. But it felt like I'd been waiting alone for too long. And that made me feel even more strongly that something was wrong. Finally, I decided to make a break for it. Well, for my room. Not it. Whatever it was. As painful as it was to bypass an opportunity to try to leave when I couldn't say if I'd get another chance anytime soon, it wasn't the right time. Not yet. I just needed to wait until my abilities were more developed. Wait until I knew more about this place. When that time came, I'd make sure they wouldn't be able to hold me. But for now, well, this felt like the safest option. I retrieved that stupid psi inhibitor I was supposed to wear, the one they gave me on my second day here, but didn't snap it on my wrist yet, just in case. Holding it tightly, I bolted down the hall towards my room, making a wild turn into the adjacent corridor. When I reached my hall, I saw the man who usually stood guard in front of my room was still there. His name was June, and he was stoic, to say the least. The most I'd ever seen him move was when he nodded at me as I left. He was visibly startled when he saw me round the corner and left his post to jog to me.
Miss Leone? What's going on?
I'm not sure. During training, we realized Carrie was gone, and Veli left me alone. And I was nervous, so I sort of ran here.
I haven't been informed of anything yet.
I shrugged. It wasn't like it was my responsibility to do that.
Please step inside your room for now. I'll be right outside.
Okay. I understand. But when you find out what's going on, can you tell me? He hesitated, then gave a curt nod.
I will.
Thank you. I went into my room alone, and for what felt like the 20th time, questioned whether I should have tried to explore a little. It doesn't matter now. There will always be time later. I shouldn't be quick to take the first opportunity that presented itself. So far, the only thing I'd done since I arrived was train. And it was useful to do that, no matter what choices I ended up making down the line. This would be fine. I knew far too little about this place to take risks now. I didn't even have the option. And if I did something reckless, it could backlash onto someone else. I didn't want that. Okay, are we... No, not yet. Did Jack get in trouble? It was a long time before I heard anything about what was going on. And in the end, June wasn't the one to update me. It was CAISSA. I hadn't expected him to personally come by. When he entered my room, he looked a little irritated. He stood by the door, staring at me with narrowed eyes for a long time. Seconds ticked by while I stared back, waiting for him to say something. Yes?
I want to know why you left the training room alone.
Ah, so they were mad about that then. Is everything all right? Carrie was...
Answer the question, Leone.
Ooh, no myths, no nothing. No, it was just the last name. Hey. Because I was scared. I was alone for a long time and no one bothered to tell me what was happening, so I came back here. Now answer mine.
What you did was dangerous. I hope you realize that.
Walking down 2 hallways was dangerous.
Disobeying my father's orders to not wander around alone was dangerous.
He sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose.
And yes, everything is all right. Carrie left her post because someone lured her away with a false message from me. That I needed her and that it was urgent.
Lured her away? Why?
Perhaps they were hoping you would do something stupid like wander the mansion unattended.
I didn't wander. I ran straight to my room. He sighed. Again. I seemed to elicit a lot of sighs from him.
It's fortunate you did. If the goal wasn't to entice you to wander around so someone could find you and harm you, I imagine the goal was to make my staff look incompetent when it comes to keeping track of you.
To what end?
Because my staff making that egregious an error would undoubtedly require for someone to be punished, for one. Whether myself, Jack, Veli, Carrie, someone would have to take the blame. And making it appear I'm incapable of managing you would probably get you thrust under someone else's management. There are many people who are annoyed you're in my care. As it is, your coming straight to your room worked in our favor, so I suppose I ought to be grateful for that.
I did it because I'm not interested in dying. I wasn't necessarily trying to help you. He gave me a wry smile.
I suspected that to be the case. But at least you showed a little wisdom there. Walking to your room was foolish, but not as much as something like attempting to leave.
And is Carrie all right? I mean, she wasn't...
Carrie is fine. No one would attempt to harm her with something like this. Just get her away from you. Jack took the blame for your excursion. And, for whatever reason, even my father likes him. He was reprimanded, but not severely.
Oh, Jack, you're so suspicious.
But I hope you realize that because you're in my wing, that doesn't mean it's safe for you to be alone.
Sorry I'm not used to people wanting to... whatever. Capture me, kidnap me.
Then I fear you will need to get used to it. This place is like that, and every decision you make affects others. No one but Jack could have gotten away with this with as few bruises as he has.
Wait, bruises? CAISSA frowned at me, tapping a finger against his lips.
I heard you've made some progress in your training.
Not much, really, but I guess it's better than nothing.
Veli made it sound like a breakthrough.
I suppose it was, in a manner of speaking.
I'm glad to hear it. I look forward to more progress.
I was too, but probably not for the same reason. I just hated having to be afraid like this all the time. I'd feel far more confident if I could defend myself. Did you come by just to update me on the situation?
June mentioned that you requested it.
Thank you.
I'll see you at dinner.
And he left me there to contemplate all that. All I'd done was walk to my room, and Jack was punished for it? I shouldn't be surprised, but at least he wasn't hurt badly. Though I hated the fact he was hurt at all. It made me wonder what would have happened to me if someone found me before I got here. I was going to have to take the dangers of this place more seriously, that much was certain. It was clear CAISSA was at odds with his father. And now it was becoming apparent he might be at odds with the rest of Crimson too. And now I felt even less sure what tomorrow would bring. Alright. And now we're in chapter 4. Let's skip ahead some more. That rhymes. Am I being cautious or stubborn? Tell me. I'm being cautious, okay, which I've done before. That's fine. We'll continue skipping. And not comment on Lance Deimos. Okay, this time I'm not being flexible, I'm being stubborn. Sometimes adaptation feels more like giving up.
Isn't adaptation the way our species survived?
It's not the same.
Is it not? You're a historian. What happened to cultures and civilizations that couldn't adapt?
I see where you're going with this.
Am I wrong?
Even if you're not, adaptation to a new circumstance isn't something that happens overnight. You're giving me a month to reconcile with all this and become amazing at Sci. That isn't fair.
No one is asking you to be amazing.
Oh yes, your father...
My father is not the one training you.
But let's not act like he's not the driving factor here. He caught my chin in his hand, jaw working. Oh boy, we're making this guy so angry this time.
Don't worry about my father. You focus on your training and let me deal with him. As long as you listen to what I tell you, I'll be able to protect you from him.
Is that something else I should adapt to? Being protected for the rest of my life?
If you break through this limitation you've set for yourself, I believe the time will come you'll be protecting all of us, Morgan. That is, if you choose to stay at that point.
What he meant by that, I didn't know, but it was odd how easily he talked about me leaving at some point, like it was something inevitable. Am I supposed to find meaning in the idea of protecting others here?
Finding meaning in something might help you adapt faster.
Ugh, he's right about one thing at least. Okay, yeah, we're back, okay. Good. Do I care about Veli? I still care about Veli. Okay, good. Go check on Veli. And, wow, we have a long scene this time. Okay, still affectionate. Good to know, good to know. And... oh, now I gotta go hang out with Jack. It's too soon. Alright, well, it's time to start easing into the Jack route, I guess. Hey, Jack, show me around, why don't you? Sure. I'd like to see more of it. I think that's why CAISSA brought me. He seems to have been commandeered.
That tends to happen when he shows up. Come on, I'll show you around. There's not that much to see, though.
I don't mind. He motioned me to follow. We left the main floor, climbing the winding stairs to the upper levels. CAISSA's pretty popular here, isn't he?
Well, he saved a lot of us. And it's been a while since his last visit. And there are always issues here we can't do shit about. Things we need his help for. Water reclamation problems, power shortages, food shortages.
Can CAISSA even fix any of that?
He does what he can.
But some of that stuff should be handled by the government. The council or something?
There isn't one butterfly. There's just a figurehead. CAISSA can't fix everything, but he can pull some strings and get some stuff taken care of. He's been working on the issues with the dome's environmental controls for weeks. Even as a king rank, seems like that one's been tough for him.
It's hard to imagine him as the leader of all this.
I don't think he sees himself as the leader of the court.
But he's the one who pulled it all together. And you said he saved a lot of you.
Well, he did. Half the people here would be dead if not for CAISSA finding them and giving them a place to stay. He's helped get people off the street, helped them find jobs. Hell, he even saved Veli and Rowan. Why do you think Veli is so loyal to him?
I guess I never thought about it.
Rowan got himself into a stupid situation, and Veli was trying hard to pull him out. CAISSA stepped in and got them both out of it. Veli didn't have anyone but Rowan. Rowan is everything to him. So yeah, CAISSA saved Rowan, and Veli has been desperately trying to repay him ever since.
Okay, nice to get that background. And you?
Yeah, well, me too.
But why? I just don't get it. Why do all this?
CAISSA lost his entire world when he lost Deimos. Lost the only person he considered family. His work with the court was like rebuilding that world, I think. Or maybe it was more like a tribute, doing something he thought Deimos would like. But it's become more than that. This place, when it becomes self-sustained, when we can kick out anyone working for the government or force the corporations to align, it'll be better than any place on this planet for people like us.
That's what he's trying to do? Start a rebellion? A bid for independence to make a city for Espers?
He wants to make a city for anyone who is sick of what Delphine has to offer. And yeah, that means pushing back the government and becoming a self-governing city-state. Well, to be honest, I don't think Kay has dreams that big. I think he just wants to build a better life for the people he considers family. It's just that you can't do that without thinking bigger.
Sounds like you'd have to completely change Delphine if you really wanted to do that.
If it's something that dramatic, I can't pull it off. I'm not Deimos. Okay, I was just showing Morgan around. I can see that. I intended to show you around, though it seems I made you wait too long. Come on now, it was just a little tour. Didn't know I was interrupting a date or something.
Oh, I think you did, Jack. I kinda think you did.
Jack. Sorry, mate. I'll just excuse myself then. Please do.
He grinned as he shuffled past CAISSA and headed back downstairs. And I feel like by this point, Jack knows CAISSA's interested in her, and he still is like, hey, let me show you around, baby.
Have fun, you two.
Sorry, I didn't mean to leave you behind. I just didn't think you'd mind Jack showing me around.
I don't mind. I would simply have appreciated to be told where you were going. It seems the two of you had an interesting conversation.
He was just telling me a little about it, that's all.
Eventually it will be better than this. Come, I'll show you the rest of what there is to see.
I followed him quietly, trying to digest everything Jack had told me about it. It was hard to get my head around it all. To think that he was working on something that big. No wonder he wants my help with it.